Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to an all-new Talkin Movies. As always, I'm your host, the real Geno Reynolds, and today, and I'm sure nobody's made these jokes, we're gonna be talking about Shaft. No, not that Shaft. No, not that Shaft. This Shaft, 2019 Shaft, which is technically a sequel to the other two Shaft movies. I will warn you, there will probably be some spoilers in this review. That being said, you've seen the trailer. I'm sure you kind of know what kind of movie you're getting into. What this movie is about is we go to the past a little bit. I believe it was in like 85. And we see that Samuel Jackson's John Shaft. It's going to be confusing. There's three characters named Shaft in this. But we'll say Sam Jackson, he's in a relationship with Regina Hall. And we find out why they have to break up. And they have had a son already, and the son doesn't get to grow up with his dad throughout most of his life, even though his dad keeps sending him gifts and everything else. Fast forward to now, and John Shaft Jr., or JJ, is working with the FBI. He's an analyst, and a buddy of his who used to be in the military and used to be on drugs and who's been clean for a long time, all of a sudden shows up dead of an overdose. And JJ wants to find out what happened. And after he has a little trouble in the bad part of town, he goes to find his dad, Sam Jackson Shaft, to help him figure out what the heck's going on. And this becomes kind of a buddy film and also a father-son film because they got lots to learn from each other as the movie goes along. This movie is getting panned by critics, and while I will agree with them that this isn't a great movie, as a Samuel Jackson cursing up and down and shooting people movie, I was pretty entertained. I'm not gonna lie. Again, it's not a fantastic movie, and I certainly have problems with it. But if you just go in and enjoy the insanity, you can probably have a little bit of a good time. It's definitely not as good of a movie as Sam Jackson's first Shaft movie, and I'm not gonna say that's a great movie either. But this one, it has a few more issues than that other one did. My main issue with the movie is JJ, John Shaft Jr. He's very one-dimensional, and you know exactly where his character arc is going to go. Granted, you know where all the character arcs are going to go. Don't get me wrong. There's no real unpredictability here, except one thing that I will talk about later. It was a mistake I thought they made, and then all of a sudden they're like, no, this wasn't a mistake. It's like, oh, cool. Okay, I get it. Or should I say, I can dig it. So, John Shaft Jr., very one-dimensional. I do like that he starts off as kind of weak, and he doesn't know how to stand up for himself, and even though he always doesn't like guns throughout the movie, he was just, if he'd hold a gun, he throws like two guns out the window, and there's like, kids can get those, but he's like, oh, I don't want to hold guns. He's just very one-dimensional, and I don't know. But then again, so are probably all the characters in this. But his arc is basically he keeps getting shut down at his job, wanting to participate in cases and things like that. But he's just an analyst and he's a rookie, so shut up, He keeps getting shut down, and it gets to a point where he's had enough, and then all of a sudden he starts to become the man, right? Or I guess I shouldn't say the man when it comes to this movie, because you don't work for the man when you come to Shaft. He becomes Shaft, right? Or a Shaft. God, some of this stuff just sounds weird when I say it, but you know what I mean. He becomes a Shaft man. Again, didn't sound right, but anyway. All right, so here's the thing. Everybody has their arcs, at least when it comes to dad and son. Dad, who sleeps with everything that moves and is Shaft, right? he finally talks to his son and says, there's always one that got away. And of course that ends up being his son's mom. So you know that he's going to have to find that middle ground. It's one of those movies, and JJ's going to have to find a middle ground of not being this overly sensitive guy. He has to stand up for himself and things like that. So they kind of got to meet in the middle, and plus they start to bond as father and son. And you also find out that Sam Jackson's character is kind of using his son at first because he's trying to go after this drug dealer, and the murder of JJ's friend kind of links to that. So he's, at first you feel he's being selfish, and he kind of is, but really though they play that off as a plot point, but it's just like, but he's still helping his son. I mean, I don't know, and it's not like he doesn't try to help his son right away, stand up for himself and everything. So it's not like he didn't tell his son, I'm going after this drug dealer, but he's still helping his son. And I don't know, that part of the plot, it was fine. You see it coming, but you're just like, okay, fine. Even though it's not it doesn't work as well as a plot point or as a plot, a plot change as I think the movie wants it to. The movie is at its most fun near the end. Even though I had fun throughout, especially, I mean, look, people are complaining about Sam Jackson's John Shaft. Oh, he's, like toxic masculinity. You know what? It's a movie. It's a movie, and that's the character. And his character learns things. So, he still makes some comments to his ex-girl that Shaft would make, but he's also learning and wants to be back with her and everything. So his character's learning something, of course. I mean, but this is the character of Shaft, and plus we have the original Shaft. So, and of course he's, we don't get to see him till near the end of the movie, like the third act, which that actually kind of surprised me a little bit. But once all three of them got together, even though the movie was still a little silly because JJ, as well as being one-dimensional, he's kind of the comic relief. And, well, at least the clean comic relief, like the silly comic relief, whereas Sam Jackson is the violent comic relief. But when they all three get together and they go to fight the bad guys at the end, that's where it gets most fun. And I wouldn't have minded seeing more of that. Like maybe introduce Richard Roundtree halfway through the movie or something. But, they did what they did. But here's the thing that I thought they made a mistake. Because I did go back and watch the first Sam Jackson Shaft movie. And they said, he makes comments about, in this new one, he says, my daddy, you thought you had a bad daddy. Well, I had a bad daddy, right? And then they all of a sudden say that John Shaft Sr., Richard Roundtree, is his dad. And I'm like, wait, no, you can't. And as I'm thinking of this, they reveal what happened. But because at the first of this movie, they do show a clip or two from the first Sam Jackson's Shaft movie. So it's like, they're connected. And it wasn't, and I was like, well, maybe they're soft rebooting it, but it's like, wait, he's supposed to be his uncle. And then all of a sudden, Sam Jackson says, when you quit pretending to be my uncle, it's like, there it is. Okay. All right. He was lying to him about being his, he's saying, I'm your uncle, even though he's your dad. But so yeah, that, I like that little twist in saying we've been lying to him all along. And so of course you're a terrible father, but I still love you anyway. Do you have guns? But yeah, the action in this when it happens, it's just good old shoot 'em up action. Nothing really original, but hey, it's Sam Jackson shooting people. It's Richard Roundtree shooting people. It's just that kind of movie. It's not a great movie. I wouldn't say rush to the theaters to see it. But honestly, if you like violent and vulgar Sam Jackson, you might have a good time with this movie. I found myself laughing some. I mean, I wasn't sitting there going, gosh, I wish this was over. I was just enjoying the ride. I probably wouldn't watch it again unless maybe they do another one, which, as bad as it did at the box office, I doubt they will. But they do kind of set up a sequel, so at least a plot line to where you could have one. So again, it's not a terrible movie, but if you want to see it, I would say it's a rental at best. Can you dig it? That's going to be all for this edition of Talkin Movies. If you like what you've heard here, please subscribe to the Real Geno YouTube channel. Like this video. If you have anything to say about Shaft, please feel free to leave a comment in the section below. Until next time, I'm the Real Geno Reynolds, and I'm a bad mother.